Welcome. In this video, we're going to be talking about ranged combat and how to do ranged combat in Greg Porter's Armageddon War. So this video is a little bit different because I'm actually not going to be the one showing you guys how to do this. We have a really generous fan named Jacob who has offered to create videos and content for us about Armageddon War. He's a big fan of Flying Pig games, but definitely a big fan of the Armageddon War system. And since he so generously offered to create some content for us, explaining how to play and then also doing some playthroughs of Armageddon War, I thought I would just create this intro to explain to you guys what's going on and then let him take over. So Jacob is a really nice guy doing a really good job, and we really appreciate what he's doing. He's created quite a few videos for us on how to play Armageddon War, which is honestly perfectly timing because we are going to be coming out with Rising Dragon pretty soon in November, which is our next Kickstarter campaign. So it is perfectly timed because that is the sequel to Armageddon War, and it uses the same system. So you can kind of get ahead of the curve, learn how to play Armageddon War, and then transfer that knowledge into Rising Dragon when you get your copy, when our Kickstarter fulfills. So thanks again to Jacob for creating all this content for us. He did a Vassal playthrough that was pretty fast-paced and very thematic for us last week. So if you're interested in that, check out the Armageddon War playlist on our channel, and his video is there. I'm going to be putting all of his videos in that playlist, in addition to the ones that I've created for Armageddon War. So please enjoy the video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and maybe leave some compliments for Jacob in the comments, and I'll pass them along. Thank you, guys.
Hello everyone and welcome back. I'm here today to give you a good explanation on some of the combat systems you may encounter while playing Armageddon War. I have a small scenario set up here on an ISIL ambush on a US convoy. For the purposes of this scenario, ISIL will be considered to have had its formation token drawn first, so they will be starting the first attack. They will first activate their militia formation directly adjacent to the American M1A4s. This formation is armed with an RPG-29. With an attack value of 6, it is the only weapon at their disposal that can pierce the thick armor of the M1s. The most essential thing to know for combat is the meaning of the different colors of the letters and symbols on the units. Looking to the left of the RPG-29 token being utilized in this attack, you can see that the attack value has a gold number and a gold starburst behind that number. This represents the primary and secondary firepower values. This is important as it informs the player what that weapon is meant to be targeting. The correlation between attack and defense colors is listed in 4.17 of the rulebook and dictates how many hits are converted to damage. Now that the militia has declared an attack against the US tanks, the US player has a couple options. As the tanks are not pinned or shaken and is in defensible terrain, it could choose to retreat, inflicting a -2 rating to the attack and retreating away from the militia when the attack concludes. It may also choose to counterfire. This will not count as an action, however it will give the attack a +1 to its quality rating. This will give the unit the ability to deal damage back to the attacker if a shield icon is rolled in the attack. While this can be a huge benefit, there is a cap to how much damage a counterfire can deal based on similar factors to attacks. The maximum amount of hits a unit can deal in counterfire is determined by taking the defender's attack value and subtracting the attacker's defense value, subtracting 1 if the attacker is in defensible terrain, and subtracting 1, 2, or 3 dice if the unit has an action, pinned, or shaken marker, respectively. In this case, the M1s have an attack value of 7. Subtracting 1 for the militia's defense value, and 1 for the attacker being in defensible terrain, this means the max amount of hits it could deal is 5, enough to kill the militia in one blow. However, it should also be noted that the tank's primary attack is gold, with a red secondary. This means that it will be using secondary fire against the infantry, and thus it will take 2 shield icons to inflict 1 hit. Moving back to the attacker, it is time to calculate the attack dice and their type. The RPGs have an attack rating of 6. while the tanks have a defense rating of 4, meaning that there will be 2 total attack dice. These dice begin as black dice, which is the middle ground of firepower. Now, there are a few modifiers that needed to be added up. The attack will receive a +1 in quality as the defender is counterfiring. It will also receive +2 for being at close range. Looking at the top right of the attack value on the RPG, a 2 in a green circle can be seen. This marks the weapon as having a range of 2. The green circle represents something else that will be spoken about later. Because the tanks are at half range, the attack receives a +2 bonus in quality. Attacks may also be made up to double range, however, using this extended range will incur a -2 quality. On the other end of things, the attack will also receive a -2 in quality, -1 for a tracked unit in dense urban terrain, and -1 for a tech difference. The level of technology of a unit is marked on the top right of the counter by a colored lightning bolt. The inexperienced and poorly armed militia are marked with a green lightning bolt, while the advanced American tanks are marked with a black lightning bolt. This is a difference of 1 tech level, giving the defender a tech advantage of 1. Totaling these up gives us our final quality of +1 for the attack. This means one of the attacker's black dice will be upgraded to a red die. The attack yields a fantastic 3 strikes. As the RPGs are using their primary attack, it deals 3 hits to the tanks, causing them to become shaken. It should be noted that the green circle around the range value mentioned earlier means the weapon has limited effect. This is often assigned to single-use weapons such as fire and scarred launchers. These weapons can only deal a single damage step to a unit. This means if it were to deal 5 hits to a fresh unit, it would be flipped over but would not be destroyed. Now that the attack is concluded, the attacking unit will receive an action marker. This final marker is additive with other hits, meaning that if the unit received 1 hit in combat, it would receive a pinned marker. However, this extra action will never cause damage to the unit, so if the unit is already shaken, this extra action marker is ignored. This concludes the attack, leaving the attacking militia with an action marker and the US tanks shaken. ISIL's next move is to move the further militia up to engage the forward US Bradleys. The attack will be quite similar to the last, with 2 exceptions. The Bradleys will not be returning fire, and the attacker will be conducting moving fire. Calculating out the attack dice leaves 2 dice, with the current quality adjustment of 0, -2 for disadvantage in terrain, and +2 for half range. However, now we must calculate the quality effect of moving fire based on the unit's movement used. The militia used 1 of its 3 movement points moving into the dense urban hex. As it used less than half of its movement points, this leads to a -1 in quality. If it had used more than half, but not all of its movement, it would be -2. And if it had used all of its movement, it would be -3. This leaves the attack at -1 quality, meaning one of the black dice is downgraded to a green die. This attack yields 1 strike and 3 shield icons. As the Bradleys did not counterfire, the shields are ignored, meaning the attack results in 1 action marker to the attacker and 1 to the defender. This concludes the ranged combat example, as the ISIL militia slip back into the urban terrain and the US convoy is staggered.